All right, what is going on, Alithio Network? We got a little something different today. Today, I'm going to be doing something very exciting, and I'm going to be interviewing none other than Tassos Kirko. Say what's up.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here with you all.
Oh, yeah. This is the first time we get him to show his face on camera. It's a fun time.
That's true, man.
We're excited. I'm sure you guys are excited. So
Yeah, I'm sure they're thrilled.
Let's get right into it. So my first question here is going to be, how did this all start? How did Alithio start? And what was your job before this?
You don't want to start with why we're doing this?
We can start with that too. I think that's part of the question.
Let's start with why we're doing this.
All right.
So why are we doing this, Brendan?
We are doing this because Tassos wants to make it more than just, him behind the mic.
But why are we actually doing this?
Why are we doing this? Because for the love of podcasting and entertainment, obviously.
No. I meant like what happened to the other show, big guy.
Oh, yeah.
What happened to Listen for Commands? Let's get into it.
I was dodging the question, but
there's no dodging this. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Listen for Commands. We just had a little disagreement when it came to putting the show together and timing, all that kind of stuff. It is what it is, but new show. We're going to be doing
so we
something
need a
different.
pivot.
Yeah, exactly. Pivot. I'm really excited about this little interview series because this is really fun for me. I've been doing a lot of work like this, interviewing people. I'm excited to sit down, especially with some of my good friends here. Just have a nice chat in front of you guys, and I'm sure it'll be enjoyable content.
Yeah, this idea came because we needed something to fill up the space, obviously. Didn't really want to take the show page down again, to be very honest, with our audience and you here interviewing me. I just this is our first time, my first time in front of the camera with this. So I'm not let's get into it. You asked me why we started this. We started this because we wanted to give other people an opportunity to grow themselves in sports and sports media. Sports is a very tricky kind of industry to break into. There's a lot of strife, a lot of internal politics, a lot of stuff that isn't really super fun or enjoyable for people to break into. And, we started this, had this idea. I've loved podcasts for a while. But the idea of doing our own and producing it and putting it out there, I think we're just trying to give a bunch of different people opportunities. We did the Deep Fade on the podcast or on the network for a little while here. That was trying to give a buddy of mine an opportunity who I went to school with. Did sports journalism, right? We're just trying to give people the opportunity, but at the same time, we want people who want to podcast, genuinely want to podcast. We want people who want to really embark on the journey of ingraining themselves into the community of topic with which they choose. And, whether that is hockey, when we do the hockey shows, we announced today on Good Morning Hockey that we're doing a Blackhawks show coming at a to be later announced date. But, we want consistency. We know that the guys in our office currently are going to give it to us, but that's the challenge, right, of bringing in outside people is, we got to get them to accept our standard too, because we have a pretty high standard for ourselves. And it just didn't work out. Unfortunate, because they were good at it too. But nothing against them as people. I'm sure they're great people. I don't really know them that well, but just we got to put that out there because that's why we're doing this. This idea kind of came from needing to fill up the airspace with that, and Raven came in with the good idea. So I think this is going to be a good series for you to do with the other guys as well. Give people a different perspective on myself. If you're a listener of Good Morning Hockey and you're here, thanks for tuning in to hear me talk about some other stuff with Brendan. But the other ones are going to be really good too that you do with Raven and Oliver and then Victor. So man, I don't know if you have any thoughts or any closing things on Listen for Commands, but it sucks. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as a producer, it's always been kind of easier for me to relate to why it's so important. I don't know, it just seems very objective because me and Raven, we got our start by because we're film students, and well, I particularly enjoy doing like sound editing, sound dialogue, all that, and getting opportunity to work post in here was just like magnificent for me. So that's why I'm here. I love doing the post side of things, and when I brought two friends in to work on what we're building here, it's kind of just hard to expect somebody else to invest what I'm willing to invest here, if that makes any sense. It's like a lot of people our age, obviously have a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of people I see just end up stumbling into
Gen Z doesn't
podcasting.
understand the importance of deadlines, commitment. This is a
Yeah.
grind. Podcasting is a grind.
Yeah. And
now,
I always say, like, film students get a lot of hate, but one thing they do know is those deadlines.
yeah, and you know what? I think it's like we want people who want to, like, this is a fun job. Like, this is a fun gig. Like, as far as like things go that you could do, there are people building houses. There are people working in coal mines and other mineral mines. Like, I mean, there are just so many more people doing more difficult things in the world that the opportunity to even do something like this is, we want people that are grateful for it, that are going to, put in some effort to, like this is the hockey show finished third in the rankings as of this morning, behind Spit and Chicklets and 32 Thoughts. Not a big deal. And like the automotive guy, the On the Gravel guys, they finished second in the automotive category, right? So that's what you get with consistency and dedication. People want to know what they're getting. Like they want to know when to expect what they want, right? Like you don't want to be looking for something that you were told was coming out or that you were looking forward to, right? So just keeping that consistency is a big part of us, and our success so far, even to this point. So we're just like looking to maintain that. The Hawks guys, I'm really confident, are going to be consistent with it. And whatever we turn this into is going to be consistent because it will be done in-house by our guys, I think. So, listen for commands. It's here, it reopened the show page at least, at least they got us to do that, and understand that, yeah, we're ready to go from 2 shows to 3 shows in-house at least anyways. Right. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited to do whatever I do after this. Obviously this is, I guess I don't want to say temporary because I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. And
it's a buffer.
I'm gonna put a good amount of work into what I'm doing here and hope that you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoy making it. But this kind of all leads me into my next question, which is,
let's get into it.
Which is, what got you into podcasting and how did you start Alithio? Like, is that your end goal, to be like a podcaster?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Actually, I grew up loving radio. Like Mike and Mike, sports talk radio, Mike and Mike in the mornings was a big one for me. Dan Lebitard, we just had on somebody from Dan Lebitard today. I mean, those guys were always on. For anybody in South Florida, if you remember, like Kevin, Virginia, and Jason, that was a really popular radio show back then. And I loved talk radio a lot, but didn't really get into podcasting until a lot later when, most of the popular podcasts in the world, like sports stuff at least, that I enjoy, like Chicklets and, Pardon My Take, those guys had already been going for a while. So I'm not even going to profess to be like on the ground floor of like fandom of podcasts, right? I was never early to that kind of stuff. I was in fact very late to the party. But I love hockey, and I've always loved hockey news. I've been more of a reader of it my entire life. But podcasting, you can just podcasts you can throw on while you're doing other things, while you're doing dishes and laundry and all that stuff, walking the dog. So, I've always really liked podcasts. The idea for Alithio, just like I said, it kind of started with wanting to give people an opportunity. The idea that we could grow it. I always tell you guys that we're stronger together. The idea of a network is that other shows build each other up. I'd like to think if we were doing Good Morning Hockey and it was just like me and no other shows with it, we wouldn't have hit number 3 on the rankings this morning. So yeah, I mean, look, to be very honest with you, like the end goal for me is not to be a podcaster. The end goal for me is to own, or to be taking some stake in about 10 to 15 different ones, running this company that's kind of how it works, right? Good Morning Hockey can be as big as it wants, but the more fiscal success would indicate that I've been able to put somebody in the chair of Good Morning Hockey instead of me, right? And I'm able to pay them a salary for hosting a show that we produce and own on our network. So long-winded way of just saying that, like, I love podcasts. The shows that we are surrounded by today for Good Morning Hockey in the rankings, the Chicklets, the 32 Thoughts, the Jeff Merrick Show. Those are all like podcasts that I really admire and look up to, and I respect what they do for the game of hockey. And those are kind of my podcasting inspirations, I guess you could say. But like, that's not what drives me. Like, I'm not here to be the biggest podcaster. I want to find people that are really good at it too. People that enjoy it and are talented. And we'll let you get back into it, because I'm sure you'll have some questions about what kind of people we want podcasting. But
we're gonna save a little bit of that for a little later. But
right.
I have a big one that I'm sure all the people coming from Good Morning Hockey are gonna want to know. What was your introduction to hockey?
Oh, well, my introduction to hockey, I was, I'm Greek, obviously. My family's from Greece. And when they emigrated from Greece, my grandfather was working in a shoe factory in suburban Toronto and was really struggling to assimilate into Canadian culture, Canadian life. And didn't really have a lot to talk about with people that he was working with at the factory, right? So he asks some people that he's working with, how do I get into the culture? How do I, try and be more Canadian? They're like, watch hockey, right? And he was able to catch the last couple Toronto Maple Leafs Stanley Cups, and he was a fan ever since, could tell you every player and every number they wore, and back before they had names on the back of the jerseys and stuff. So that for him was able to, that made someone who grew up in, post World War II Greece, coming over as an immigrant, fall in love with the sport, right? So when I was a kid, it was pushed on me pretty young. I played it growing up down in South Florida. A lot of ball hockey, a lot of street hockey, just out playing with friends. I can remember just standing outside in the heat, just stick handling and shooting pucks and tennis balls and all that for hours and hours and hours. So it was kind of my introduction to hockey. The Florida Panthers, Steve Goldenstein, play-by-play guy, all just like really impactful in my life when it comes to the sport of hockey, right? So that was my intro into the sport.
Into the sport. Now let's jump into, I'm fiending to get this one out of the way. I want to talk about the infamous Chell grind period. Yeah. For all those out there that love
fun video
NHL, video games in general. I know myself is included in that category. That's why I thought of this question, because I love video games. I want to hear about this too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. NHL's fun. It's a fun video game. EA makes a good video game. I think it's the best sports game to make, but
probably, yeah.
No, you know what though? On a more serious note, like, I think everybody goes through some tough times in their life. There's a delicate balance, right, between like playing video games because you're hooked on it and it's fun, and then understanding why you're playing video games so much too, right? I have gone through some periods definitely in my life where I was playing way too much NHL. And I think that's like it's a depression thing, right? That's and that's not like, this is also Men's Mental Health Month, if I'm not.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say that.
Yeah,
in the middle of this.
Yeah, so I, not afraid to talk about it, right? Everybody goes through it. To pretend like we don't is, just not true. So, yeah, man, I think I went through some phases and some struggles and used NHL to cope with that. Very therapeutic for me, very meditative almost. Love NHL, man. They make a great game over there at EA. It's very fun. We actually got the chance on Good Morning Hockey to interview James Cebulski, who does the play-by-play for the NHL video games. At least the last 5-6 years he's been doing it. So that was pretty fun, actually. That was probably one of the more fun interviews we've done on the show. But yeah, man, I just think everybody kind of has those things that they turn to when they're, going through it a little bit. And if you're struggling, go get help. Don't be afraid. Insert therapy, online therapy sponsor here.
Yeah, we sure could.
BetterHelp.
Actually.
No free ads. But yeah, man, that was the Chell grind. I, gotta put the Xbox away and have it wrapped up in a bag in the closet. And, I'm afraid to put it back together because I know that a couple days will be killed if I do. So I'd rather just not. And, we're doing enough work here that I don't need to be killing 4 or 5 hours a day playing NHL because that's what it turns into. So, yeah, that was the infamous Chell period of my life, which, it's like smoking, right? Once you go back, you're hooked onto it. So, I'm trying to stick away for now, at least a little bit here. We've been going strong for like 6 months on. I'm hopped on in a while. So, yeah, man.
Off the Chell grind. I mean, I did the same thing with Madden. Those sports games could be a really easy into like, the pro side of the sport and like learning all the players, all the lore, all the like locations of where they're at.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. But next question. Did you play any other sports growing up?
I did. Middle school, everybody does like the thing where they play every sport. I went to a pretty small middle school, so I was like on the basketball team, on the flag football team, soccer team, whatever. I was not particularly any good at any of those sports. I might add. I was actually, in fact, probably noticeably terrible at all of them. I did play lacrosse. That was probably the most I played of another sport outside of hockey. I played in middle school, played in high school. I was a goalie in lacrosse, so that is where the lunacy comes from on my end of things. It's a fun game. It's a beautiful game. Creator's game for any of you that know the sport. I love lacrosse. A lot of similarities between it and hockey. Yeah, it's a beautiful game. Beautiful, just wonderful sport. And yeah, so I played that growing up, and I loved it. And I stopped my junior year of high school just because I was taking some other things more seriously, like music and stuff like that. So, yeah, no, I did play a lot of lacrosse though growing up. I really enjoyed it. It's still a sport I love a lot. So,
yeah, here's a question that, well, for full disclosure, I'm not sure that all the audience does know this, but Tassos is a manager for the Greek ice hockey team,
yeah.
which is a pretty big deal. So I want to ask a little bit about that and start off with how'd you become the manager and what has the team come to be?
Yeah, I mean, this is like kind of how much time we got?
We got time.
Yeah, we got a sponsor meeting later though, so not too much time, but so oh boy. So about a little over a year ago, we ever since I was a kid, growing up, like I said, family from Greece, into the sport of hockey. You wonder if Greece has a hockey team. You look into it, you find out that they did, on and off from, the 90s up until, 2010 to 13. And then they just stopped playing, right? So me and an old friend of mine did some research and did some sleuthing, did some digging. Found out some more information. We found out the people to call, and we're just really calling about some questions. That was the Winter Sports Federation over in Greece. And we did some phone calls, we did some research, and we just were calling to ask some questions. And people were very concerned. Let me just say, people were very nervous that we were calling them. They, thought we were the police almost. They thought, why are you calling us asking about ice hockey? This is a sport that hasn't been active here really for about 10 years. So why are you calling and asking about it? But, we were just calling to try and connect the dots, right? Because you have a lot of countries, like Jamaica and Lebanon and Puerto Rico, different nations, IIHF members. IIHF, for those of you that don't know, is the International Ice Hockey Federation. It is hockey's equivalent of FIFA and FIBA and all those organizations. But so, a lot of these other countries that are on the forefront, they're trying to get going here, and a lot of their efforts start at home, right? We know hockey's a lot more popular here than it is in a lot of these nations, right? Like Greece and stuff. So we were just kind of calling just to check in, and it really turned into a thing where it was like we were asking so many questions that it turned into a, well, if you have so many questions, why don't you just do it kind of thing, which was a very weird experience, very surreal. Yeah, I never really expected that from that. We weren't really looking to be in charge of anything or running anything or really even doing anything. We were just kind of asking questions. And like I said, they were like, well, if you have so many questions, why don't you just go ahead and do it? And so we did. And we entered a team into the Amerigol Latam Cup last year, which is a tournament that started, I think, in 2017. And it's for South American, Central American, and Caribbean nations to play. And it's a lot of these countries, like I mentioned, like Jamaica and all that, Colombia, Argentina, countries that are really trying to get hockey going, whether it's via roller hockey or limited ice or whatever the situation may be, different ball hockey clinics. These countries are doing a lot of really cool different things. So I know I'm going off on this. But we entered the Amerigol Latam Cup. The group over there was kind enough to let a Eastern European nation join the fray, and we played. We placed in second, lost to Argentina, double overtime of the gold medal game. It was a pretty tough loss. We also, after that, we got asked by the Lebanese national team to play a 3-game series with. After we entered the tournament, we played them before. We went to Florida last year, but we played them in Montreal. Played them in 3 games. We won a game, which was pretty incredible. So like I said, long-winded answer, but yeah, I don't really know how it happened. Here I am, and I got I think I got the ball hockey guys hat on, but those guys are good guys too. The Greek ball hockey team, but no, man, I don't know. We've been doing this for about a year now. The buddy I started working on this with is no longer working on this with us, but the players are awesome. The coaches are awesome. The people are great. Everybody loves it. It's a real different experience. Like, it's really unlike anything I've ever had the opportunity to do before in my life, and honestly, probably one of the most fulfilling things. So,
yeah, that's perfect. That actually leads me into a couple more questions I had on it.
Yeah.
So,
shoot.
Why don't you tell us, why do you do it, and is it stressful?
Why do I do it? Well, I'll answer the second one first. Yes, it's stressful. Just like the being a GM of a hockey team, doing all the legwork, talking to people, talking to players, ordering jerseys, mitigating travel, mitigating communication, right? Talking to players, making sure everybody's okay, making sure everybody's on board, and then also putting together a hockey team that can win, right? And also, like, it's international sports too, right? So you're meeting players that meet, or you're finding players that meet a certain set of qualifications, right? Like, they got to be Greek, right? I can't can't ask Sidney Crosby to play on the team, right? So, it is stressful. It is hard. International hockey, there's a lot of like politics and stuff too. So it's a lot of like, we were talking about Gen Z and like meeting deadlines, but the other thing too, it's not just Gen Z, it's older people too. The world moves very slow, and sometimes, that doesn't move at the pace I like to move at. When I want to be a pretty fast paced guy. So, sometimes when we're doing this Greek hockey stuff, it can move at a bit of a slower pace than I want it to. So it is, sometimes stressful. What was the first question?
It was why.
Oh, why do I do this? I do it because it is. I do it because nobody else is letting me run their hockey team right now. So that is the honest answer of it. Nobody else is letting me run their international hockey team right now, or a form of it, or a branch of it, whatever you want to call what we're doing. Yeah, nobody else is letting me do it. Last year I was the head coach, which was a really cool experience. And now this year I'm stepping into the GM role. I am making my friend Spiros Anastas the head coach for the summer, and he's excellent. Like, should be a National Hockey League coach. And yeah, I mean, I think I do it because, for me personally, selfishly, like, I want to make that grandfather, right, that came from Greece, and he didn't get to watch us play last summer, but he's going to go to, we're going back to the Latam Cup again this year, and the tournament's doubling in size too. There's going to be 8 different countries there this year. Countries like Armenia and Colombia is coming back, and Puerto Rico's coming back, and Lebanon is bringing their team. It's going to be really legit, really fun. If you haven't checked it out, it's an awesome space and almost like a festival for the celebration of hockey. But we are going back there this year, and we're also going to do an event in Toronto where we are going to play Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and Lebanon July 11th to the 13th. And I guess why I do this is a couple of reasons. One, the selfish reason why I do it is so I can make my grandfather proud, right? This is a guy who he watches two things. He watches three things. I'll give you: Toronto Blue Jays baseball, Toronto Maple Leafs hockey, and NHL hockey in general, and soccer. He watches a lot of soccer. He loves watching club soccer, but he particularly loves watching the Greek national soccer team, right? And when those guys play, it's an unbelievable thing. I am also a fan of the Greek basketball team, following them and what they do. So for him getting to come watch these games in Toronto, be right by him this summer, that's something I can't really pass up the opportunity to do. Even though I don't make any money from it, it's all volunteer. I'm not an employee of anybody. It is more just out of the kindness of my heart. So, in fact, I'm, if anything, a lot of money of my own money in on doing this, not really, haven't really had any benefit from it yet, personal or otherwise. So I do it to, for my grandfather. I do it to remind myself, I'm not fully Greek, right? But when you walk around with a name like Tassos Kirkos, it's kind of hard to escape that part of you. So it's kind of understanding what being Greek means to you. It's not just the food and the culture and the people, but it's things Greeks are very philosophical people. They're very introspective. They're very forward thinking on things like development and democracy and progress and all this kind of stuff. So, I do this to sort of emblazon that in me, that this is why I'm Greek, and this is part of me showing the world that I am Greek, right? So, or showing the world that side of me. So I do that that's the selfish reason I do it. The non-selfish reason I do it is because getting those players together last year, Brendan, I have never experienced anything like it in my life. Not playing hockey, nothing, coaching kids, whatever. I mean, coaching a men's national program versus coaching children here in Chicago, those are, that's a different planet, right? These guys are playing major junior hockey and stuff, and, NCAA, D1, D3 hockey. These guys are players. But seeing the love that they had for each other, these guys had no idea who they were and who each other were. And then by the end of, Montreal, when we played Lebanon, or by the end of the tournament in Florida, the Latam Cup, those guys were brothers, right? Those guys were best friends. They text each other every day. They Snapchat each other every day, whatever it is. And those guys, the bond was instant, right? And part of that is because you're in a locker room with guys that grew up exactly like you. You know what I mean? That grew up maybe speaking the same language, or their mom had the same rules, or their siblings act the same way, or their extended family, or they dealt with this. You know what I mean? You can relate to someone, your teammate, more than any other teammate you've ever had, almost. These kids have never been in a locker room, maybe even with any other Greek kids, let alone a whole team full of them, right? So, like I said, those guys just, they love each other. I'm really looking forward to this summer. This is just going to be super fun. So long-winded answer. I love talking about it. I don't really get to talk about it a lot on the network because, Good Morning Hockey, we're trying to cover, nobody loves, I'm not trying to talk about myself a whole heck of a lot. Right. But nobody really wants to hear what's going on with Greek hockey a whole heck of a lot. So I try not to talk about it on Good Morning Hockey. We will at some point eventually, as it starts, building up and up and up, and depending on my involvement with it. I just almost feel like the less involved I am with it, the more inclined I would be to talk about it. You get what I'm saying? I almost feel like because I'm so involved with the team and the program that I just there's no need for me to talk about it on air. We can talk about the NHL and the PWHL and NCAA and junior hockey and all that crap, or all that stuff. Other teams. Have I been swearing on here? I haven't even noticed. Oh gosh,
not that I know of.
Okay, all right. I hope not to swear. We allow, just so people know, we allow people to swear on our podcast. I don't care. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want on our shows, as long as it's not anything racist or homophobic or otherwise just offensive. You say whatever you want, express yourself however you want. I think, the idea of like bad words and whatever, like get out of here. It's 2024. But still, we're trying to maintain some sort of level of professionalism here with our shows. So I don't really like to swear on the hockey show. I'm not going to be dropping F-bombs here and there on this sit down with you here either. But, just making sure. So yes, long story short, that is why I do it. Just like those guys love it, man. Like it's unlike anything I've ever, and like, especially last summer. I don't think this summer I'll be standing, as GM. I won't be like behind the bench, right? But when you're like behind the bench and you're like, like the national anthems before the game or something like that, or after they do it in international hockey sometimes, like it's crazy, dude. You're looking over at the other end of the ice and it's like Argentina. And it's like, you're looking at your bench, you're looking down, it's like they have Greece across their jerseys. You know what I mean? Like I never in a million years would have thought that I would have had that opportunity, let alone at 25 to be able to do it. You know what I mean? So I was 24 then. So yeah, man, it was cool. Crazy experience. Looking forward to doing it again this summer.
Yeah, being as you're in that kind of unique position and you've gotten to see firsthand like just how euphoric it could be to like come together, unite as like a country, have that whole ethnic background play into like this huge moment. So that kind of leads me into this next part of the question, where it's how do you grow a sport in a country that doesn't have it? Being as you kind of pretty much did that. I mean,
well, we're not even close.
Am I incorrect in saying that you were kind of on the ground up of this whole operation?
Well, no, because people have been there since 1990 doing like the late 80s doing this. There is hockey in Greece, and I think with the team playing over here, I think the people that I got to be careful with my words. I think the people that are over there playing hockey, and there's not many. You know what I mean? Like there may be 30 active players, men's players, maybe another 10, 15 women's players. There is a little hockey over there. The problem is there's no infrastructure for it, and there's no proper development structure in place, right? So even if a kid wanted to get into hockey over there, there's really no path. There's no direction. There's no upward mobility. There's just not a lot, right? Like he has a cap and it's pretty low. We got to do things like equipment. Like a big part of this summer is an equipment drive for us. We're going to be doing equipment drives both in Toronto and in Florida at both of our stops this summer playing games. So then shipping that over there, grabbing some of our players and doing like a camp over there, on ice and off ice stuff. Like that's a big part of it. Really just opening the pipeline, right? Like there are a ton of Greek Americans and Greek Canadian families and, kids and hockey players who want to help and they want to see this get better. So, opening up that pipeline and making sure that they know about it, right? Because a lot of people they wouldn't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like most people don't know that there's a Greek hockey team, right? Like even Greek people, they don't know, right? So it's about getting it to them, getting it out there, and opening up the door, because that, I guess, has been the struggle for why it's not a thing more so already. And that's really how you're going to grow it. It's got to be proper infrastructure. They need a full size ice rink over there, NHL size, IHF size, whichever. But things like development, things like camps, there should be no reason that like retired pro hockey players of Greek descent aren't going over there. It's the most beautiful country in the world. You know what I mean? This isn't some other countries where it's really tough to try and build hockey there. This is Greece. So, we're working at it. It is a long process. This could be, 2 years. This could be 5 years. This could be 10 years. This could never happen. But it's bit by bit, little things like that are going to be part of making it happen, I think.
Okay, let's do a little bit of a pivot here.
What do you got?
All hockey aside, I want to ask a little bit more about Alithio.
Yeah.
So here I have, what values do you want for the company? What is really your vision for this thing? And where do you see yourself going with it?
I know, it's a lot of questions at once.
Yeah, it's a pretty loaded one.
Let's start with the first one.
Yeah. What values do you have for the company?
Yeah. I think I want to give light to things that aren't really mainstream. I think that's a big part of what we're doing. You know, so like, for us being in Chicago and the US, the easy thing, quote unquote, but it's not easy, right? It is like, let's cover the Chicago Bears and the White Sox and the Cubs and the Bulls, right? Let's do that. But the idea behind this really was like, let's capitalize on niche sports. Hockey's not a niche sport. I mean, it is a niche sport, big picture. But it's really not. Like, I hate calling hockey a niche sport because it's not. There are other way more niche sports. Oh, I'm hungry, dude. I got to eat. So values, I want people that really care about their sport, like hockey isn't niche, but to really love it is, to be as enamored with it as I am and with like how other hockey fans are. Like, I know hockey fans, I think, are some of the most passionate, out there. But at the same time, like there's just other people that do other podcasts, right? Like F1 and, people that are really into F1 and covering F1, like they live and breathe it and eat it and sleep it. And, so I want people like that, who love their sport, whether it's, I want to do, and I know you were going to ask me what other shows we want on the network, but this kind of ties into that a little bit. Things like women's hockey. I want to get a women's hockey show, and I want to get a Blackhawks show, which will probably be one of the very few team-specific things that we have on the network. Like, I don't envision us having a show that covers every single Chicago sports team. You know what I mean? Maybe eventually one day, depending on the growth of things. I just think that's really hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to have a Killing Bears show. You know what I mean? It's really hard to have an awesome Chicago Bulls show, let alone the best Chicago Bulls show. You know what I mean? We want to have the best of everything we do. So the values for me of the company, I want people that are really dedicated to their craft, really dedicated to their sport or their topic, or, because look, we don't even need to have sports shows eventually. Like, I want to do things like comedy. Like, I would love comedians to host their own shows here. Every comedian has a podcast because not everybody can have a Netflix special. If guys want to cover topics like history or movies or current events, which is a little trickier, but still possible, pop culture stuff, if I want to be able to support anybody doing anything. Now, the values I have, and this maybe goes back to our off the hop discussion about like the listening for command stuff and all that stuff. But you know what I mean? Like the one thing we talk about here that I try and talk about with you guys, especially when we're talking about new shows and what we're bringing on and bringing in new people and stuff. A big thing for me whenever we bring people on is I don't really care how much you podcast. You know what I mean? Like, as long as we together come up with the expectations and then they're set, right? So if you tell me you're going to podcast once a week, if you tell me you're going to podcast once every 2 weeks, if you tell me you're going to podcast 7 times a week, I don't care, as long as you stick to it, because we can manage that and we can sell that, So people who are able to, I know you're asking about values, but that is a value to me of being able to stick to something, to be able to stick to the plan, regardless. Like I said, we come up with the expectations together for every show, whether, it was a show that was on the network or a show that will be on the network. We come up with the expectations together. There's no like sit down and like, you're told by me and Raven and you know what I mean? Like, we don't do that here. Like, those Hawks guys, I'm not going to give their names yet, but, those Hawks guys that we're bringing on for the show, like, those guys know the deal. And like, we talked about it. Like, it wasn't hey, like, I did go to them and say, hey, this is my idea for things, right? But I never said like, hey, you need to do this, or this is how it's going to be done, or it's not happening. Like, that's just not how it works. We all work together to come up with stuff. So, I guess a value, like, I want collaborative people. I want creative people. I want hardworking individuals, but we can teach all that stuff too. You know what I mean? Like, I can make you a good podcaster if maybe you're not super comfortable behind the mic, or you're tapping on it a bunch, or you're holding it super close to your face, and you know what I mean. Like we can fix all that stuff, but the certain things that like just like getting up in the morning and being a good human being, caring about things that you like, really caring about things that you love, like those are the kinds of things that we're looking for, right? So those are values that I have. All right, what was the second part to that question?
Well, I think you pretty much covered like the second part,
all of it, yeah.
which was not all of it, because I wanted to actually ask like, where do you see this thing, as in Alithio, going in the next? Let's start with 2 years.
You want to start with 2 years?
Yeah, and then progressively we do 5, 10.
2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
10
next
shows.
2 years. 10 shows. So we got a concrete number.
2 years. I'd like us to have to move out of the studio and into something bigger where we can concurrently record more than one podcast at a time. We feel that we can maximize this space that we are in currently with about 9 shows on the network. I think about 9 is the cutoff point before this place starts feeling a little bit too crowded. And, we might have people like on top of each other, or frankly, we just run out of time in the day to schedule podcast recordings, right? So 2 years, that is the goal. About 10 different shows. And that's 2 years from this point, because that's the other thing too. Like when you start a company or when you're starting something, like, deadlines are so pushed off, right? So, we're going to look back at this in a year and probably laugh, right? In 2 years, and, or it may, like you put in the hard work, and, you'll be met in certain points with certain things, and, certain things you're going to fall short of, but because you've been working towards it, you're going to get close. And, so 10 shows, it's kind of the idea behind it. I would love in 2 years, I'd love to, like I said, have, maybe a couple more production staff under you and Raven, a couple more business staff underneath Sully, Victor. We call Victor Simononik Sully, our head of business here. I don't know. 2 year. That's about the 2 year plan. The 5 year plan, I would say, kind of the same thing. I have to be honest with you. Like I don't know that I want to stay in Chicago forever. I love Chicago, but I don't know that it is where I want to settle down eventually, raise a family, if that's something I'm trying to do. Not like I said, not that I don't love Chicago and everything that it has to offer, because I think I would always want to maintain something here. But I do think that I would like to move somewhere else. And I think if I were to move somewhere else, that spot would be Buffalo, New York. I love Buffalo, New York a lot. A lot of similarities between here and Chicago. It's almost just like a shrunken down Chicago. Food, culture, people are really, really kind. A lot of the sports interests are similar there. Hockey, football. There's no NBA team there, obviously, but so 5 years down the line, if this hit pretty close, I would say 5 years down the line, I would hope that we have a good idea of like 15 shows that we have on the network. At which point, I would look to personally move myself to Buffalo and hopefully open up another branch of the office. That's kind of the idea, and that's we're putting that out there in the ethos for the first time. Sully knows that, and Raven knows that, and I think I've told you that before. But that's kind of the idea. I think a lot of the topics could overlap. Like I said, we want to get into different niche sports topics, but like hockey, I think we could have 3 shows. I think we could have Good Morning Hockey. I think we could have a Blackhawk show, and I think we could have a PWHL show that covers women's hockey, right? And other like NCAA, right? And I don't think that would be oversaturating the hockey market. Like I think we could fill in those 3 shows worth of content, have them all rank in the top 15 of hockey podcasts in the US, and still have room if we were to expand to Buffalo to add like a Sabres show. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is the local team in the market there. So that is kind of how I view the next 5 years. 10 years, I don't know, man. We're gonna kind of see that. Let's see how those two things go.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Let me flip it on you. What do you think of that?
The Buffalo thing was new to me.
Oh,
like,
was it?
I'll say that right now.
I hadn't told you that before.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's my dream. If we could in 5 years, you know.
Yeah, I respect the goal being to, like, you know, make it out of the city at one point.
But we would maintain an office here.
Yeah.
Like that would be we would still have a studio here. And frankly, like if you and Raven or Raven and or Victor were still operating out of here, like you would just be the guys in charge of the office here. And like, you know, half of us would stay here, half of us would pack up and go over there. Right. And there, you know, like I would come here and, you know, it would give me an excuse to come back to Chicago and still have the city be a pretty major part of my life, even without needing to like settle down here too. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. New York's like not that far where it's like, you know, a decently.
It's an 8-hour drive. It's not bad.
Yeah. And, you know, just
Like
light
9
little,
maybe.
small little flight too. So,
Yeah. You been to Buffalo?
no, I've never been to New York ever.
Dude, great chicken wings, man.
Chicken wings? Okay. Yeah, I'm sold.
Duff's and Barbell are those are the spots. If you're not local to Buffalo, or if you are, those are my two spots. But yeah, man, I think that's a good. I think that's a good goal for us. You know, like that's kind of where I see it. You know, if we can get this thing up to 15 shows, I'd feel confident about, you know, trying to do it over and. We'd probably have to move a couple of the shows over there to be based out of there and then try and start up a couple more. I don't know. But what do you think of the idea, though? I know I just asked you that, but, you know.
I mean, I love the idea of, like, I'm not going to sit here and lie on air because I kind of shit on New York a lot. But, like, I like the idea of, like, being, this is not a word, but buy local and having, like, two kind of like locations.
Buy local. I don't think that's a word.
It's not. I'm just going with the flow.
Go with it. I'll let you.
But yeah, no, I think that would be an insanely good idea, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, like New York is like a huge hub for like radio, like podcast content. So
yeah, and the other thing too is like you're not in New York City, right? You know, like New York City is you've got 3 Chicagos stacked on top of one another, right? And so that's a bit like overwhelming. Like, I don't know how people do New York City, but Buffalo is just, you know, and it's not just that, but you're an hour away from Rochester. You're like an hour and change away from Toronto and like a border crossing. You know, you're 8 hours away from Chicago. You know, you're not 8 hours away from New York in your own state. Like New York's a pretty big state. So, you know, Buffalo and New York City are not close to each other, but you're still in the same state. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like Tampa and Miami or something. I don't know, man. But yeah, that's honestly probably a good comp. Yeah, you know, like I like New York a lot. You know, the taxes are really high, so you know we'll have to have 15 shows on the network by then to be able to make it happen at all. So, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of like leads to a perfect pivot to my next and kind of final question.
Oh, this is fun.
Which is gonna be, what would you do if you weren't here? Like if this didn't pan out at all.
I mean, it still hasn't panned out yet.
All right, you know what I mean.
I mean, what do you mean? Like, I don't know.
As in, like
right now, if we weren't doing the Alithio thing,
yeah,
I would probably be trying to work for a hockey team somewhere. Yeah, didn't you have on there what my job before this was?
Oh yeah. I don't know what happened to that question, but if you want to,
well, you didn't ask it. That's what happened.
Yeah. We're gonna have to, you know.
Sorry, I'm having too much fun with this right now.
we're gonna touch a little bit about the fact because I did forget to mention, and that's my
no.
bad
I saw your list of questions beforehand, obviously, so I knew you had it on there. You know, I don't really want to particularly talk about it, but you know.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit obligated to do it because like this is hockey related, and
well, no, you just asked what I would be doing here, or if we weren't doing this, like what would I, you know, like I would be working for a hockey team, you know, like I was working for a hockey team. I was working for a hockey team here. You can guess which one it was.
Yeah, and we were trying to get this out of them.
I will give you a hint. It wasn't the Blackhawks, but I was working for a hockey team here. Not the Blackhawks, and yeah, I didn't like how I was being treated there, and I didn't like how other people were being treated there, and so yeah, we left. We did this thing, you know, the Greek hockey thing came up, Yes, that was I left. Yes, I left a full-time paying job to take something that wasn't paying me and to also dive into something and spend a bunch of my own money to try and make it happen. But it yeah, man, I don't know what I would be doing if I were doing this. I can't, give you an answer. I'd love to, like part of me would love to be like a hockey scout. I think I'd be particularly good at that, but that's a hard life. It's not an easy hustle. Those guys travel a lot and are on the road a ton.
Yeah, we've had some of them on here, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think we've had a scout on.
No scouts?
No, a lot of reporters. No
Reporters,
scouts.
okay.
You should know everybody's list of everybody's jobs right in front of you.
I was skimming it a little bit to see like.
Yeah, no scouts. But I have friends that are scouts, and it's tough, man. Like they got families, like you're away from them. You're traveling. You're watching like minor league hockey in Savannah, Georgia, and like Norfolk, Virginia, or Savannah, Georgia, Norfolk, Virginia. All these different places, and you're like, shouldn't I be like with my children right now? But no, you know what? I'd probably be trying to like, work my way up with the hockey team, doing the grind, doing that thing, trying to work my way up. But, I really would want to do something hockey related. When I was working for the hockey team before, I was working in public relations. I was on the PR staff there. It was a really small PR staff. It was only 3 of us. And you're the PR for a whole pro hockey team, right? And it was tricky. But it wasn't like, it wasn't, there were parts of my day and parts of my job that were really hockey related and others that just weren't. And I wanted the whole thing to be super hockey related. So, and those jobs are hard. You know what I mean? Those jobs are super tough to get. And, it's funny almost because like people, like even for jobs that, they say require no experience, they're like, oh, like what's your experience? And then you give it to them and they're like, well, that's not enough. And they're like, well, so how are you supposed to almost get experience until you get it? You know what I mean? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So again, I love, this is fun. This is more fun than, doing the hockey show. It's a different kind of fun. I shouldn't say it's more fun because I do like talking with other people in the mornings. That's the most fun about doing Good Morning Hockey is when we actually bring on other people and talk to them. It's not just like me sitting there talking about the news of the day or whatever. That's just sort of the glue that holds it all together. But this is more fun. Like this is the dream. You know what I mean? Like doing stuff like this. Like I said, you didn't ask. You said last question. We got so many questions we could get into, bro. But like, what other shows we would want on the network? Like I would love a show, and I've definitely told you this before, but I would love a show where we have so many people in the office that like every day, Monday to Friday, like noon to 2 or 11 to 1 or whatever, for 2 hours a day, we're live, and whoever's in the office hops on the mic. You know what I mean? Like everybody just kind of gets together and I'm going to just knock the camera a little bit.
We're good.
Yeah, no, we're good. No, but like whoever's in the office can kind of just, I think Barstool does something like that. I don't watch it, but, just something where like, it's like a daily radio kind of thing. What were we talking about? Sorry. I just like kind of got sidetracked by that.
The initial question was like, what would you do if you weren't here? But
yeah. No, I know. But I kind of spun it a little bit.
We were going a little bit into like what shows and like what stuff like that you want on the network.
Yeah, man. Because I want people to like have fun, and I want people to enjoy their lives and sports, and like enjoy coming into work every day. And so I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this. I think it would just be like really trying to grind away at a bunch of interviews for the hockey thing. But eventually, like there's so many different parts of it too, right? Like for me, for hockey, like. Before I got the job with the Wolves there, I'll say it, before I got that job, I was a runner up for a job to like run a hockey program at a rink here. It was the Park District of Oak Park, I think, to like run their hockey program. So maybe I would do something like that, and not so much like in the pro or junior team ranks, just because like that's a grind, right? Where if you're settling more into a more normal routine, if you're doing something like youth hockey related or something with your community. So I don't know what I would be doing. Long story long. I'm happy we're doing this. This has been really fun. Oh, that's why I went into because I want people to like just talk on the microphones. Like I don't want, I want people to go to Good Morning Hockey for morning updates, and if they want to hear the recap from the games and the news and the thoughts on coaches and whatever, player signings, trades, all the fun stuff, and for interviews. But like this is fun. Like just sitting here and like having fun with you. Like if I wasn't, to be blunt, running this company, you know what I mean? Like if I wasn't running this, I would do this with all the time. You know what I mean? Like I would do this all the time. I just know I would let it fly too much if I did. And like, I can't quite yet. If we, if we're making some serious cash, like I'll come on here. Like this could be a more normal thing. Like I would rather do a podcast like this than do Good Morning Hockey. You know what I mean? Like I would rather pay somebody to do that and do a more fun podcast like this where we're not talking, like we're talking about anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we'll be doing our promoting. We'll be doing our whole thing on this. But that being said, I think a lot of this is going to come down to the response we get from everyone out there. Because I want to see if people really like, this kind of direction. If people want to see like Tassos, Raven, all those guys like get to know us. I'm like really excited to do this, and I'm gonna be really motivated if I get some like great responses, some great feedback from you guys out there watching.
Who you think's gonna be the one that people like the most?
Dude, honestly, well, I don't know if anyone's gonna do it better than you just did it right now, because like I don't think like anything could have gone any better than it just did. But because
thank you.
You're so good at like just being a podcaster and just talking. So in that capacity, I'd probably say you. But I think dude, I'm gonna have a lot of fun doing it with Oliver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've like talked to him as much as I have.
I mean,
I
I know Oliver a lot. Like he's been with us for a while now, but I didn't know him before this.
Yeah,
so I didn't know him before Alithio. So no, but yeah, that should be fun.
I'm excited to do the one with him. I like coming up with those questions is going to be really fun too, because I don't know how to talk about F1, so I'm gonna have to get nitty gritty and go all in. But that obviously leads into my next question, which Tassos did set up for me. But I still want to know what should I do for my next show on here?
Can I give you a piece of advice first?
Oh yeah,
take a deep breath. Not through your mouth, you weirdo. Who takes a deep breath from their mouth when somebody says take a deep breath?
I do.
That's weird. In through your nose, out through your mouth.
All right. Are you talking like literal sense or like?
Well, I mean, if you had done it in the moment, I thought that would have been funny. But what was funnier was you breathing out of your mouth. Yeah. No, I just relax. Like this is fun. Like I appreciate you being like you're good at podcasting. Like this is actually fun. This is probably the most fun I've had actually doing a podcast. So that's kind of you to say. And relax. You're good at this too. Like just chill. You don't need to be like, hey, and so on to my next question. No. You don't gotta be like we're talking. You know me. Like this isn't
Was I doing that? Because that's one of the
like
questions.
Maybe 7 times during the interview.
I don't think he ever got that, but I gave him a good stare there.
No, I just
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, you guys should see my setup back here. It's like there's so many gadgets. Like I'm just like half the time, in my defense, I am looking at you right here, like on the camera. So like I'm like looking at you, but I'm not making eye contact. No,
I think you should just like relax. Everything's good. Like we're just talking. You know what I mean? Like you don't got to be so formal or like
Yeah.
So on to my next question.
That's honestly just one of the big things for anyone out there listening to, because like I know a lot of people out there who are listening have maybe like a subtle interest in wanting to do this. It's something that you're gonna have to get over. Is like you sit in front of a camera. It's like it's like human nature. It's kind of impossible to just like act natural, but me and Tassos, me and anyone else, hopefully, it's just like you get into it, you start shooting the shit, and it's like it is what it is. So
if you go back and listen to the first couple episodes of Good Morning Hockey, oh boy,
yeah, it's like
those are rough. I almost, you almost want to take them down because where the show is now and where it was then is just leaps and bounds. But and where I am, like you're 100% right. I had zero confidence on the mic before when we got started. I would literally feel it in my chest. You know what I mean? Like I would feel it in my heart, and like it would feel like I had like a big lump in my chest. And you know, like yeah, I think we're all getting good at it too. You know, like there's no reason to not be comfortable. Like once you realize that you're just like having a conversation, it's, you know, that is the best podcasting. Like that is what people want to hear. People don't want to hear like robotic nonsense. Like they want to hear like people just talking. That's talk radio. Like podcasting is talk radio. You remember that Steve Jobs clip I showed you?
Maybe. No, I do.
I showed it to you like a couple weeks ago. So there was a Steve Jobs clip on Instagram of him talking about podcasting. I think he's like doing like he's like at a conference for Apple or something. I don't know what they were unveiling back in 2005 or whatever, but you know, he's talking about podcasts, and like this is 2005, you know, so almost 20 years ago now. And what did he say? It was like, oh, it's the combination of the word iPod and broadcast.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought that was insane because first of all, I didn't know that. But it was like he said it, and we know that that's what the definition of a podcast is. And you and I were talking about this off air of, you know, that when you say you podcast to people that like you get the look, like you get the you podcast look, like it's certainly a look that we've all gotten since we started this.
The white dude with a podcast connotation. You can't shake it.
Don't worry. Even though we immediately lost the one woman we've had on our network so far, we will be working to get more people who are not straight white men in here. Just want everybody to know that.
The stereotype a little bit.
Well, no, I just like that's not fun. Like nobody wants that. Like I could point to companies that do what we do that are pretty much that entire demographic, and like, you know, why? Every show doesn't need to be the same. But anyways, so how did we get there? Help me out.
How did we get to like talking about like Georgie in the demographic?
No. Brandon, what were we talking about?
We were talking about just like advice for like, we were talking about like podcasts on a broader scale of like what it's like doing it, and like,
yeah, I guess people were, you know, people just like they've got opinions and stuff, and you can't worry about it too much. You just kind of got to do it.
Yeah, it was like advice for me, you know, for doing these
I didn't mean
interviews.
to like go into giving you a ton of advice because you are good at this. You know, I forgot where we were, but yeah, I don't know. No, we want this to be open to everybody, you know. As far as what I think this show should be, I don't know. And I don't know if that's not the answer you wanted from me.
We got like, how many more? We got...
Yeah, you got 3 more interviews after this one to kind of to figure it out.
Answer, yeah.
You know, have fun with all of them, right? Like this was fun. I really, like I said, I enjoyed myself more than I have other shows we do. And not because it's just different, right? It's just a more fun environment. Like imagine if we did a podcast with all of us, like that'd be honestly probably really fun. Like really
that would
cool.
be fun as hell.
Yeah,
It comes down to like if we could get something consistent working with it, and it's like something good to talk about every time. Like we could shoot the shit, but we might run out of like stories that we like all talk about, and it's like you kind of have to base it on like a subject that, you know, we could have concrete in the middle of all of our discussion, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like I'm trying to think. Is there anything I should ask you?
Yeah, I had one last additive
you got one last
that
one?
question,
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
shoot.
Who's next? Because
next?
we went a little bit into this like about, you know, how you did like insanely well, and then like how I would want to do Oliver, but I want to hear who you want me to do like as the next interview.
Gosh, well, we know Victor's going to be the worst one.
Worst / best? I don't think like it could go either way.
It's going to be the worst one.
Probably most fun for me.
I also feel like I'm not looking into the camera enough, so I apologize to anybody if that is a complaint that you may have. This is, again, remember, my first time appearing on video on any of our podcasts. So, well, these guys, especially the On the Gravel guys, have been doing it for a while now. I have not. So, apologies to anybody not feeling like they're getting enough eye contact from me directly into the camera. Yeah, I think you should do Victor next, just because it might not be the greatest, and then finish with the On the Gravel guys, unless you want to like break them up, and then like go with Oliver next. I would say, okay. So that way, go with Oliver next, so that way you've got like Sully to break up the two of them.
I mean, we're just compensating because like I don't
Victor's
know.
going to be great. You're going to need to keep that interview a bit more serious, because once it goes off the rails with Sully, it goes, the train is entirely off the tracks once it goes a little off the rails with him. So
yeah, I mean, just for further clarification for people out there, Sully does not have his own podcast. I mean, if he did, I'm sure you could infer that it would be on here, but
no, Sully works in the shadows with us.
Yeah.
He works behind the scenes. He and I work together with for sponsorship things and all that stuff. So, business stuff. He's my right-hand man, kind of, my generic, I almost want to call him a secretary, because he keeps all, he keeps everything like all folded up, and, he keeps all the bills and all the paperwork and everything we need figured out. And no, he does an awesome job. You're just going to need to be very prepared for that interview. Otherwise, otherwise it's going to go off the rails.
It's going to be a fun, like, sharp contrast, because I'm interviewing like a podcaster and somebody who's good at that. And then I'm jumping right into like a street interview, pretty much.
Yeah, man on the street.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun, dude. I'm excited to do Victor. But
what do you think you want your podcast to be? I know you want it to be like weightlifting, powerlifting again, but
yeah, I like. Obviously, that's where I'm geared to, because I have like that tendency where I could hop in the mode that I'm in.
We should also mention that, like, your show is number 4 in the fitness rankings right now.
Yeah, something happened. I mean, Tassos was saying this to me off air, but we put up a bunch of stickers in Chicago, and what do you know? Like a day or two later, we pop up. Like all of our shows pop up on the rankings, and it's like almost
all
like
of
the
them
one
are top 5.
The one thing you want to think that like led to that, because it like the little QR code is like our link tree, and all of the shows did well. It wasn't just like Good Morning Hockey like you would probably think. It's like On the Gravel and my show, which I
Is
wouldn't
in
say
limbo.
like is in limbo right now. That one popped up because we didn't even have an episode last weekend, and it still popped up on the rankings at like number 4.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's insane. But yeah, it's like, do what you got to do. If there's going to have to be a like more out of this.
We even changed the name of it, and it popped up on the rankings. Like, it's not even called Listen for Commands on there. I think it's called, what is it, like Alithio Network interview series or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So,
but yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah, nothing else for me?
Yeah, no.
You didn't want to. You ended up deciding against your rapid fire?
Oh yeah, no. I had a little rapid fire for him, but do you want to do the rapid fire?
You can ask him if you want.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
I'm having fun, dude. This is great.
It'll be fun. We're a little bit up against the clock, so
are we?
I didn't know if we should have done. Yeah,
That's
no,
okay.
we've been going like an hour and 7 minutes right now.
Oh, no way.
So I'll do the lightning round, just like at least a couple of them.
Yeah, rock
All
and
right,
roll.
let's do go-to bar order. I want to ask that one.
2 Miller High Lifes.
2.
2.
Why 2?
Because you got to order beer 2 at a time.
Okay. All right. He's a OG. He knows. All right. Let's do morning routine. I don't remember how I thought about this one. A little sensual question.
Morning routine: get up, walk the dog. Get up, hit the coffee pot that I've already had prepared, because I legitimately can't wait more than 5 minutes after opening my eyes before putting some coffee to my lips. Walk the dog, wrap up some show notes.
That's a pretty funny question to ask today, because I saw it firsthand.
Yeah, right. I may or may not have fallen asleep on this couch last night.
Yeah, but we won't talk about that.
We just did.
Yeah.
It was great rapid fire. It was really rapid fire.
All right. Energy drink or coffee? That's a rapid one. Yeah.
Easy. Next.
I knew his answer, but I just wanted to bring that one up.
So why'd you ask it? No, I'm just kidding.
No, because Tassos always says something about like how I have a fucking wicked energy drink in here every morning. So
Brennan comes in with like Starburst, like energy rainbow, like at like 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, for any of you who know, I had a Ghost like today, like Ghost EDC, and if you know, you know, because like why Tassos would say something.
That doesn't
about
even
that.
sound like real.
Yeah, it's because it's like a fucking giant like electrolyte, like fucking electro eel disco looking ass design. Like I don't know how to describe it. If you've seen it, then you would be like, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. But all right, well, I'm trying to get more rapid with it. So
All right, let's go.
Basketball or football?
Neither. No, basketball.
Oh, you
basketball.
fucker.
Basketball.
Okay. All right. This is a good one.
Baseball though.
Favorite thing about Sully?
Favorite thing about Sully? Well, see, the people. That's kind of a goofy question because they don't know.
That's why I put it in there.
You know, I love how he. He's not going to listen to this. I love how aloof he is, honestly. Like, you know, sometimes you could be like having a conversation with him and then he'll be like, oh, wait, you were talking to me? Sometimes you do that too. But, you know.
Yeah, he better at least listen to this with the sound off, dude. Give us a play stat. And then biggest pet peeve?
From you?
No, it can be just in general though.
From what, my pet?
No,
just
like
for humans in general.
Yeah, like a pet peeve. Thing that you hate that people do.
Oh boy, actually, that's a tough one because I hate a lot of things. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I mean, I guess like the easy one is like bad drivers, but to be more specific
one.
into it, especially around Chicago, because I don't have a car here anymore. I sold my car last year and have been going on it with 2 feet and a scooter for the most part. And no, I don't own a scooter. We use the Lime scooters here or whatever. Owning a scooter is weird. Just throwing that out there. But like when you're walking around here and you got like, a bunch of like 4-way stops around here and cars don't stop like fully at a stop sign in Chicago. I'm just like, are you nuts? Like there's always somebody in a crosswalk here. Yeah. Always.
I have some pretty great stories from driving down here. So we'll ride with that.
I'm glad that's how we get to end the podcast.
Yeah, no, I think we'll wrap it there. So I mean,
this is fun.
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, had a fucking ton of fun with this. So like, I would love. Well, I mean, either way, depending, it doesn't really depend on the response. I'm gonna do it anyway with the other 3. So
yes, you are.
Yeah, no,
that's not really up for much.
No. That being said, though, I really do want to hear or see the response that we get on these videos. Whether it be from like my real life friends, from people coming from like Good Morning Hockey, or even like on the gravel, if that happens, if they ended up shouting it out. But yeah, I want to.
You know what? We have an email that let me see. Should I call Sully right now?
On air?
Yeah, I'll call him.
Can't even wait till the end of the.
Well, no, because I want to be able to put this. Is it info or is it? Hey, you're live on a show right now, so just be careful with what you say. What is the email that you and I made? Is it info at alithiomedia.com?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to info, thank you, Sully. If you go to info at alithiomedia.com, you can email us and we will receive it. And that can be sort of if you have an opinion that you would like to share, a question, a thought, a comment, a critique of myself or Brendan, an opinion on what he should do his show on, right?
Oh, yeah. I would love that.
You're open? Okay, so info at alithiomedia.com.
Awesome. Just quick little plug at the end of this, like I always say, like I said at Tasso's shows that we just recorded. This isn't going to come out until Sunday, I don't think.
No.
But we did just record. It's Thursday right now. Like I said at the end of that one, it's like if you're here right now, you'll probably this will be relevant to you. Like it's like email it. Quick plug.
Yeah, email it. It should be fun for your guys' show in the future and whatever this turns into. I'm excited for whatever this turns into. Like I said, I think the best thing for it is to keep it in house. But whichever one of us or 2 of us you want to do this with going forward, or if you want to do it solo, you have our support and help. So yeah, man. Thanks for starting off with me.
Oh yeah, no. Wouldn't have any other way. I mean, this was gonna be the one that people were gonna look for. So,
cool.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, if you guys end up really liking what I did here, I could definitely figure out a way to integrate it into what I'm gonna do for the show going forward. If I want to make it like more content like this. But that being said, this episode is here for a reason. It's because I'm gonna do a show, gonna make my own thing out of this page. So Page is not dead. Initial dream, if you want to call it, initial plan had to make a pivot in like long story short. But
That's okay. That's how life goes, man.
yeah, I mean, that's life. But we're here. I'm super excited to do this. And like I said, thank you to Tassos for being here, being my first guest, if you want to call it. That's kind of fake.
Let me plug our other shows.
Yeah, we'll get a good plug. You want to do like a formal outro here?
Well, I'll let you outro it, but I just want to say, go listen on the gravel. Go listen to Good Morning Hockey. Click subscribe if you like this video. Like it if you liked it as well. Leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcatcher, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, download the episode, play it again, leave 5 stars, leave a comment if you're on Apple Podcasts too. And like I said, info@alithiomedia.com is our email if you want to get in touch with Brendan.
Oh, yeah. All right. Like I said, I can't say, like, I'm just going to keep repeating myself if I keep us on air, but I can't appreciate you guys enough, especially if you're listening, like, right now to this. And, you know, thank you so much for bearing with us, bearing with me especially. Had a lot of fun doing this. And I guess that's going to be it for this first one, and I'll see you in the next one.
Peace.